For a look at the key priorities in this bill for the administration and for a glance at the overall economy, we're joined now by White House Senior Economic Advisor Austan Goolsbee. Thank you so much for coming on the show and in studio. So you're here today. The president's joining you on Thursday, coming up to New York City as well. Do you believe that with this latest push and in the wake of what we heard in terms of the allegations of fraud against Goldman, that we will see financial reform before June?
Well, I think we are going to see financial reform, and I think we're going to see it soon. A, because it's important and it's necessary, and I think most people recognize that. But B, I think we've got a good bill that addresses many of the big problems that we've been facing. I know the Republican leadership has been saying they're against it, but I think in the end,
41 Republicans moving out against this, but that was pre-Goldman.
Be careful. And the thing that the 41 Republicans signed was a little mealy. I mean, if you look at it, they were not at all saying we commit to vote against any financial reform, and they said they would read whatever came down the pipe. I think in the end there's going to be a vote. It's going to be a bipartisan bill, not in the sense of the two sides are going to agree on what loopholes they want to, put in together, but it's going to be a strong, clean bill. And I think a lot of Republicans are going to look at it and say, I completely agree with that. I even think that the big banks agree with 90% of what's there. So I think it's very close to being done.
It has been reported overnight that Senator Collins had a conversation with Treasury Secretary Geithner, acknowledging that $50 billion bailout fund, as it's been termed, or funeral fund, depending on your perspective, has been moved up for compromise in some ways. Senator Dodd said as much at yesterday's press conference. Is that fund dead?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a political expert. I'm just a policy guy. I will say an Exante Fund, which is not a taxpayer-funded fund, mind you, it's coming from bank fees.
Banks paying into the fund.
That wasn't in the president's original white paper for regulatory reform. There are many dimensions of this that, fine, we can work out the details of whether it's a pre-fund, post-fund. What's important, the president has said many times he's not going to sign any bill that doesn't end bailouts, that doesn't bring derivatives out into the open and give them oversight, that's not going to end speculative investments, by parties that are getting subsidized by the government.
Should banks be barred from trading in the derivative space?
I think that could go, you could easily envision that going too far. It's not trying to ban derivatives. I think the goal here is to get them out in the open so there aren't big dark pools, and to try to separate the counterparty risk so that when an AIG gets in trouble, they can't threaten to blow up the entire financial system unless the taxpayer hands them hundreds of billions of dollars.
So moving to a clearinghouse, you think would
clearinghouses and exchanges
spillover
clearly have a major impact on lessening the amount of spillover. And I think the presence of a robust resolution authority which says you're either broken up and sold off or liquidated and the management's all fired and the shareholders wiped out, that is also going to give a motivation to the AIGs or whoever of the world to be a little more mindful, of what they're doing, as well as higher capital requirements are going to give them more of a buffer. And all of those are in the bill.